Alright, hopefully you guys can just see what I need you to see, guys. Baby Girl Host here, and I'm going... Brad's laughing at me. Brad's laughing at me. That's not nice, okay? Yeah. Anyway, I'm going to be reading a creepypasta. It's a... Actually, it's called Crappy Pasta, apparently. It's another version of Ben Drowned. It's like after the fact, stuff like that. I just thought it was a okay story, so... I'm bored. It was 4 in the evening, and I was laying in bed while playing Pokemon on my Game Boy Color. My mother calls up the steps. "Zoe, I got you something." I raced down the steps and looked at my mom excitedly. Mom handed me a brown paper bag. I frowned bitterly, but my bitterness quickly faded when I looked inside the bag. There sat an old N64 system, 2 controllers, and a few games. I kissed my mom's soft cheek. "Thanks, Mom," I shouted. Once I got to my room, I quickly hooked up the gaming system. Shut up! Sorry, guys. I quickly hooked up the gaming system and took out what few games I received with my new N64. I looked through them inside. All the games seemed boring, but one game caught my eyes. It was a dirty old cartridge with Majora written on it in thick black Sharpie. I shrugged my thin shoulders and put the game in. The game started normally, and despite the lagginess from the game being used so much. When I got to the file menu, I saw a single file. Ben, in all caps. I again shrugged my shoulder and clicked on the second file, not even bothering to mess with the other one. The game ran smoothly, besides a few glitches here and there, but then something weird happened. The game would sometimes call me Ben and sometimes Zoe. I thought nothing of it and continued to play. I mean, it could have just been a glitch, since the other file was named Ben. I was about to enter Clocktown, but the screen turned black for some reason. The game rebooted itself and returned to the main menu. I clicked on my file and started to play once more. As the game loaded, a title screen came on. "Dawn of a New Day" was what it read. I started to shiver as a feeling of dread started to flow through my body. My hands started to sweat and my breathing became unsteady, as what it sounded like the Song of Healing being played backwards started. I gulped and went to the back of a building. Just then, a statue started to spawn. Scrolling. And form. Scrolling. Add. Scrolling. In front of Link. I looked at it as I tilted my head slightly to the side. Weird. I haven't even played the Elegy of Emptiness. Sorry if I got that wrong. I said to myself. Just thinking that the strange statue of Link forming was just a glitch, I left the building and continued my journey. Scrolling. Sorry about the scrolling, by the way. You know what? I can just skip scrolling. Boom. Itself again. I went into the file menu, but this time my file was gone, and so was Ben's. I hadn't even clicked on his. There was a new file named Your Turn. I started to feel uneasy again as I started the game. The screen went black for about 30 seconds. I was on top of the clock tower looking up at Skullkid. He just floated there, staring at me. I sat there in confusion. Suddenly, an idea came to me. I took out my sword and charged at him. After about 4 steps, Link dropped his sword as he was lifted to the ground, just like he would as if he were in the Great Fairy's area. Link burst into flames as he screamed in agony. I quickly turned off my TV, not knowing what to do. I was shocked to even think straight. Too shocked to even think straight. I decided to get my mind off things by surfing the web. As soon as I got into Google, a tab opened itself up. The site on it was called Cleverbot. I clicked out of it. The tab reopened itself. I started to type. User. What? No, wait. User. What? CB. Hello. User. Who are you? CB. Ben. User. Ben? Okay. What's your last name? CB. That is for me to know and for you to wonder. User. Come on, tell me. CB. No. User. Please. CB. No. User. Sheesh, fine. No need to get your panties in a knot. CB. Do you like the game? How do you know about that? Because I'm part of the game. How? Why don't you play to find out? The tab closed itself, and the TV turned on behind me. I rubbed my eyes and yawned. Fine, I said to myself. I stood up from my desk chair and started to play the game once more. I was in the same place where Link had went up into flames. I took out my ocarina and started to play a song. Before I finished the last note, Link went up into flames. By this point, I was beyond freaked out, but I continued to play. The game rebooted itself again and came to the file menu. This time, there were 2 files. Made, Ben, and Drowned. I assumed that Drowned was Ben's last name. I sighed and shook my head. I need some sleep, I said to myself. I turned off my TV and laid down on my comfy bed. The TV turned back on. I looked up and saw a single sentence that made my skin crawl. You shouldn't have done that, Zoe, it read. I flipped the TV off and rolled over. Screw you, I yelled. It's 12:30 a.m., and I woke up to the sound of static. I groggily looked up and saw that a picture of a statue of Link. Only thing is, it wasn't Link. I didn't even have to think about who it could be, because I instantly knew who it was. It was Ben Drowned. He was in my TV, watching me sleep. I rolled over and turned on my PC. A Cleverbot page was already pulled up. Hello, Ben Drowned. Hello, Zoe Maples. How do you know my last name? I know everything about you, sweetheart. Why are you doing this? Because it is funny, and you amuse me. Are you alive? Yes and no. I drowned. Then how can you be alive and dead at the same time, Smarts? The page closed out before I got an answer from Ben. Douchebag, I muttered. Over the next few weeks I started doing research on Ben, but for certain things, the picture of him wouldn't come up, almost like he didn't want me to see it. I soon gave up and sat back in my desk chair. I just can't seem to figure this guy out. All of a sudden, a loud bang came from our small TV room. I walked in to see the 62-inch flat-screen TV with a picture of Ben. I screeched. I was so shocked and scared that I blacked out. When I woke up, I dizzily looked around the room. I was in my room on my bed. The red N64 controller sat next to me, and Majora's Mask was already turned on. I shakily started to play, but I noticed that Link's back was tilted. I ran around, but I couldn't seem to get his body to straighten. I got irritated and was about to put the game controller down, when all of a sudden, a text box pops up. You shouldn't have done that, Zoe, it read. I stared at the screen, unable to think straight. I was scared and confused. Done what? I asked, not expecting an answer. You shouldn't have played my game, the screen read. I whimpered. Why? Why are you doing this? I screamed. That's 2 things, but okay. I already told you. I find you amusing, someone whispered in my ear. I quickly turned around, but only to find that no one was there. Over here, Zoe, the voice echoed. I turned around again and saw my door swing open slightly. This isn't funny, I called out. Oh, but it is. This voice sounded farther away this time. I stood up and hastily ran out of my bedroom. I followed the sound of evil chuckles and hushed whispers. The voices led me outside and to the small pond by the edge of the forest. The voices stopped as I stood at the water edge, looking deep within. I soon saw something green form as it floated at the top of the water. It was a green hat. I took it out carefully and inspected the object. I looked back at the water and screamed. A boy around 10 or so lay at the bottom of the pond. He had blonde hair and pale skin. He looked as if he died from being strangled, but there was much more to it. I dove in the water and brought his body to the surface. I opened one of his eyes, only to see an empty socket. I gasped and backed away fearfully. His eyes must have decayed due to all the water, which doesn't make sense. Okay. I slowly crawled back to the boy's body and poked his cheeks as if he was asleep. Okay. I finally sat back as hot tears streamed down my face. I couldn't live with myself knowing that this boy was so close to my house, and yet I never knew he was there. I'm so sorry, I whispered. If only I would have known. More tears streamed down my face. I stared at the boy's body for about a good half hour. Then it clicked. This boy's body. It's Ben's. I slowly stood and took off my outer jacket. I covered Ben's body and said, "I'm sorry, Ben." Over the next few weeks, I became overly depressed. I became so depressed that I wouldn't talk, and a few months later, I ran away. 1 month later, Zoe's mother turned on the news. 16-year-old Zoe Maples was found dead in an old warehouse by the cafe. Police say that she hung herself with an old cord. Recently, she had been diagnosed with severe depression, and police believe that this is the reason why she committed suicide, the reporter said. Zoe's mother sat on the couch shocked. She couldn't believe what she was hearing. Her daughter wouldn't do such a thing, even if she was depressed. When Zoe's mother finally faced the truth, she broke down. She looked up as she heard the TV start to become staticky. "Please don't cry," a voice rang. "I'm here. Play the game." "What game?" her mother asked aloud while looking around. "The Legend of Zelda: Majora's Mask," the voice replied. Then it dawned on her. Zoe was the one talking to her. Alright, credit to the original story goes to Jadusable, Jadusable, and Ben Drowned returns as the story name of this belongs to Willow Bauer, Bauer. So that's the story. If you guys want more of this, tell me and stuff. But that was Ben Drowned Returned. Bye.